Hello, everybody, and welcome to our book club review on the book Outwitting the Devil, one of my personal favorite books of all time. We have 45 minutes together to review this book. Let's go through it slide by slide and talk about how we can apply its teachings to our lives and also to our weight loss journey. Okay, because I am a weight loss coach and I am a health coach. I want to help you be your very healthiest. We're going to see how Napoleon Hill, in his interview with the devil, he outwits him, gets some secrets from him that's going to help us in turn know what to look for so that we can live a better life free from any rule or thumb from the devil over our lives and over our decisions. So I love this book. It is amazing. I hope that you loved it too. This is the first thing that he talks about in the book, is that the devil says that there is something called your other self. So there's two entities that occupy your body. One is motivated by fear, and the other is motivated by faith. Now, before we get into this discussion tonight, this book was written in 1938. That was a very long time ago. Napoleon Hill didn't publish this book. He's passed away since, of course, but this book was not published until 2012, 2014, thereabouts. Isn't that interesting? So 1938 is when he wanted to publish it. This book never got published because he showed it to people like his wife and his family members who urged him not to. They said, please do not publish this book. Do not print this book. It's going to destroy our family. It's going to destroy our reputation. It's going to destroy a lot of things. So even after Napoleon died and did not publish this book, I don't know, out of fear or out of loyalty to his spouse and her not wanting him to do it, she then passes away, and the niece or nephew or whatever who had this manuscript could have published this book, read this book, said, absolutely no, we do not want to publish this book. Okay. And so it wasn't until years and years later, as you can see, that this book was published, but it's actually exactly for our day, you guys. This book, I believe, was written for our day and age. It is so profound when you look at what's going on in the world today and you compare it to the teachings in this book. You'll know why it needed to wait so long to come out. It would have been maybe too over the top for that time period. People wouldn't have been able to fathom anything he was saying because it was really a lot about spirituality and religion. And when you start to pick and point on religion and education, which he does quite a bit in this book, it can get you in a lot of trouble with big people in government, of course, and in religion. So, it could have put his family maybe even at risk of their lives for some of the stuff he wrote in this book. Now, 2021, we're reading this book now, and we can see how relevant it is. Let's continue on. So we're told here by the devil that there's two entities that occupy the body. One is motivated by fear, and the other is motivated by faith. Actually, this part in the book really was more of his soul speaking to him, the light and truth within him telling him this part. And it was all about taking your mind off of all thoughts of limitation. And that was a key piece that was important. When you take your mind off of all thoughts of limitation, you could succeed at whatever you wanted. Conduct yourself as the person who has exactly what you want. Let's go ahead and take that piece right there and talk about you viewing you as your future self. Why do you coach with me? Why do you want to be healthy? Why did you even approach this path in life to get healthy and to become your best self in this way? Why did you do that? When you choose to act from your higher self and you have an image in your head of what you want your life to be like, your future self to be like, and you go for it, you're taking your mind off of all thoughts of limitation. And if you can act like that person who you want to become, and you know exactly what you're going for, you conduct yourself differently than the person you are now who's not there yet, but you're living as if you are there now. So if you live in that space, it will feel new and strange to you as you pose as someone different than who you believe yourself to be. So this is why the word believe is important. You have to believe that it's as good as done. You're at your goal weight. It is as good as done. You have all the money you could ever want in your bank account. It's as good as done. You have the dream job. It's as good as done. The dream health. It's as good as done. And when you live from that space, that's what you start to create. We're going to talk more about that. Let your other self give the orders. So this is your higher self. Okay. The instructions will come through the medium of thoughts, which will present themselves in your mind. They'll be different from your ordinary day-to-day thoughts. Hill took on the persona of the wealthy man he wanted to be. To be wealthy, you need to think wealthy. And so this is what he had to do. And in this part of the book, he was listening to this higher power. We call it God. He was calling it his other self. And it was telling him to drive to this other city and ask this man for money. He needed some money to, I think it was publish a book or become a writer or do something with his career. And he just needed this money. And this is what his other self was telling. And he said, I didn't question anything. When the thoughts came in my head to go do this thing, I did the thing. And then I was guided to do this other thing. And he's calling that your other self. And a lot of us call that revelation or the divine speaking with us. And that's exactly what he would do. Okay, so this is the part of your body, and you'll know because there's no fear. It's all faith-based. And he acted from that place. Okay, this was interesting. Fear is planted by the devil. So people are punished by fear, which is planted so deeply in their minds, in the minds of everyone by the devil himself. This is what the devil was saying. So fear of the thing which does not exist is just as useful as fear towards the things that do exist to the devil. Okay. So he loves it when you fear what could happen, even though it hasn't happened yet. It doesn't exist yet. But your fear lives in the future, and you are fearing something in the future. A lot of you, if we're talking about weight, you're fearing that you're going to gain the weight back. You fear that you'll go back to your old ways and you won't have made these habits. And the more you dwell on that, the more you make that so. If your thoughts weren't towards fear, but rather faith of, oh no, I lost this weight and I'm going to do whatever it takes to keep it off. And I got this. I'm not worried one single bit. If I gain a couple pounds, I'm going to go right back on program and lose it again. You'll find a way. Can you see how there's two mindsets here? One that's based in fear and one that's based in faith. Fear is planted by the devil himself through thoughts in your brain that occupy space, and faith is there too. But if the fear starts to overwhelm the faith, that's all you're going to hear is the fear, because you're acting on the fear and that's all you're thinking about. All forms of fear expand the space the devil occupies in the human mind. The moment man can think for himself, the devil can control thoughts. Now, he does say this in the book, the moment man can think for himself. So it made me think, okay, then he can't really control a little baby's thoughts. But then he talks about how he can control the parents who are going to conceive the baby and the baby's growing up in the body. And I'll talk about that in just a second. But this is how the devil gains control of human minds. Poverty. This is number one. He deliberately discourages people from accumulating wealth. Poverty discourages man from thinking and makes him or her easy prey for him, the devil. Have we not seen this in the streets with homeless people who are drug addicts? He discourages people from accumulating wealth and rising to meet their potential. Poor health is another one. An unhealthy body discourages thinking. That is absolutely true. You get more lethargic and lazy with your life when you tend to overeat and pack on the pounds, because now your hormones are out of balance. The chemistry within your body is out of balance and you can't think clearly. You're tired all the time. You're exhausted. You're stressed. So poor health is another way that the devil gains control over human minds. And the devil has countless agents working for him to help him gain control over the minds of the people on earth. They represent every race, creed, and religion. Now, some of you might be listening to me tonight and thinking, well, this just isn't fair. How could a God who loves us send us to an earth where the devil has so much control over our thoughts? We almost don't have a chance. How do we even live in a world like this? We knew in the pre-existence, before we even came to this earth, what we were getting into. And we knew, just like our Heavenly Father has taught us, that this world, who is the ruler of this world? Well, God created the earth. This is Satan's world, the earth right now, as it is in this state. So we knew coming into this experience that we would be tempted and tried. We also agreed that we would do our best to resist all temptation and make it back to our Father in heaven. Getting a little spiritual on you here, aren't I? So don't be discouraged by all the negativity in the world that comes at you. Just know it is playing on your mind, and that is not from a higher power. That is from the adversary himself and his little minions getting into your head about your weight, about your body, about your size. Every little bit of confidence you have in yourself, to take that away, to make you feel less than, especially when you fall off the wagon, go off your plan. He's right there to make sure you feel guilt and shame over your decisions. It's your job to block him out and to not take the bait, to not give in to the guilt and shame feelings that come along, but to rise above and say, how can I be better? And how can I do better the next day? So, who is the devil's greatest enemies on earth? He says it's all people who inspire others to think and act of their own free will. Independent thought and lack of fear are his enemies. So that's basically saying if you can walk through life as an independent thinker with a clear mind, a sound mind, and you have faith over fear, you're the devil's enemy and he really can't touch you. He can't do much about that because that's how you show up in the world. But he's going to do his darndest still to trick you into losing your confidence in that. So be very careful, be on the watch. Okay, the devil's greatest secret weapon over human beings. Let's talk about it. It was the habit of drifting. He calls them drifters. And those who do no or little thinking for themselves are drifters. We see many of those people in the world today, don't we? Lots of people drifting. A drifter is one who accepts whatever life throws his way without putting up a protest or a fight. So if you're going through some hard times, you just kind of throw your arms up and say, not going to do anything about it. You don't really try to fight for what you want. You just give in all the time and just say, well, this always happens to me. So it's the way life goes. It is what it is. You see how that attitude won't push you to becoming your best self ever? You're going to have to put up a fight and not tolerate it. If things come in your life that you don't want to happen, you need to protest. You need to stand up. A drifter doesn't know what he wants from life, so he gets just that, nothing. We know very, 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 very many people like that, don't we? They don't know what they want in life, so they just settle for what is, but they don't ever go for anything greater or improve or become better because they don't really know what they want. They don't know even the how to get there, and a lot of us don't know the how. But if you don't have a dream or a vision, you can't really go for anything, can you? A drifter has lots of opinions, but they are not his own. They are supplied by the devil. Okay. So this would be somebody who comes in with their opinions about every little thing, but they're not thinking with their higher brain, their prefrontal cortex. They're thinking with their monkey brain, the primal brain, and just spitting off opinions, maybe things that they heard here and there, not even things they necessarily believe. But they took on these opinions because, well, so and so said it. So the devil's clever ways. The devil can take control of the thoughts of a child before they are even born through their parents, and sometimes he goes further back. This is called physical heredity. Isn't that fascinating? This is a topic that I have been studying and teaching people about because people have a lot of depression and anxiety and fear over certain things in their lives. And that those tendencies to feel that way could have been planted into their ancestors from generations back. And then you're conceived at some point and you've carried on some of that DNA of that fear and anxiety and stress and worry and panic. And now you've got that gene or that DNA for that. Does that make any sense to you? So this is interesting because this stuff is being talked about a lot more these days. And this book was written in 1938. He gives to a child before birth as many weaknesses as possible by their ancestors. This is what the devil says in the book. How interesting is that? Just knowing that little bit of information makes me want to try harder to overcome any weaknesses that I have, to prove to the devil and his minions that he can't outsmart me and who I was created to be, but that I can rise above any trial that's going to come my way, whether it be food addiction, whether it be body image or self-love, trying to do that. I can rise above and become my best self and see my worth and my value. He then controls the environment. One by one, he enters the mind to form bad habits through your environment. This is how he dominates humans. He does this a lot through the media. We see something or some habit that somebody's doing that's a bad habit. Could be shopping, spending too much money. It could be just being sassy and disrespectful to other people or rude. And then we start to form some bad habits around things we see or hear or watch. So the devil's clever. He's got these ways he can control us and take control. And a lot of it, I would say the majority, or if not all of it, it's all in our brain. So who are non-drifters where the devil has no control? Let's talk about that. These are those people who think for themselves. They use their higher brain to make decisions. And these are those who have a purpose in life, those who have self-confidence, those who save money and are financially free, those who have a healthy body, those who are in control of their emotions, those who have a magnetic personality that attracts others, those who don't make the same mistakes over and over, those who are kind and generous to others, those who finish what they start, those who can make decisions and stay out of confusion, those who eat healthy foods and exercise daily, those who don't criticize others but build them up. Holy smokes, you guys. When I read this part and I learned about this, there's a good percentage in here I feel that the devil has control over me on. And as you look at this list, do you feel that too? And if you do, don't let guilt and shame come. That's the devil getting in, saying, look, you're not good enough. You don't measure up. And we have to fight that. And we just have to look at this list and go, okay, this is great feedback. Where can I get better? Where can I be in control where the devil can't control me. I want to be a non-drifter in all areas of my life. So what do I need to improve on today? And we work on that thing, and we work on our mindset around that thing. Mindset, so important. Protection against drifting. Here's how we do it. Do your own thinking in all occasions. Don't let anyone else do your thinking for you. Don't let someone say, this is what you should do because it's the right thing to do. You do your own research and you do your own thinking on every topic. Got it? I mean, this is more relevant in our day and age today than ever before. People are out there mind controlling you through social media and other avenues to get you to think the way they want you to think. They have strategies around this. And you need to do your own thinking. You need to do your own research and your own thinking in all occasions. Hear me on that. Decide definitely what you want from life and create a plan attaining it, and be willing to sacrifice everything else if necessary rather than accept permanent defeat. Got it? Analyze temporary defeat. So if you've been defeated, you're going to extract from it some advantage. What blessing came out of the hard time? You need to find that and extract that from the experience you had that you felt was negative. Be willing to render useful service equivalent to the value of all material things you demand of life. So everything you're given, you give the equivalent to those things back in service to others and render the service first. That's interesting. A lot of business people do this too. The first year I was in business, I was coaching for free, just trying to give away my services so people could see what it was like to be coached by me. And it was good, and I learned a lot. This is a good thing to get in the habit of, is giving of your time and service and love to others and helping them to the equivalent of the value of the material things that you demand and want of life. Interesting. Recognize that your brain is a receiver that can be attuned to receive communication from the universal storehouse of infinite intelligence. Ooh, so we've got to attune our brains to the frequency. And guess what the frequency is? Love. That's the emotion you need to feel. That's how we tune our brain to the frequency where we can gain more communication from the divine and infinite intelligence. We must feel love for ourselves and for others. Recognize that your greatest asset is time. Budget your time so none of it is wasted. Time is your greatest asset. Recognize the truth that fear is a filler of which the devil occupies in the mind. When you pray, do not beg. Demand what you want and insist on getting just that with no substitutions. So this is going to maybe hit some of us the wrong way. Who am I to demand God to give me what I want? That's not in my character at all. What he's saying here is stop begging and pleading. Go in there and be courageous with God and say, this is what I desire. This is what I demand. This is what I need. And go in and ask for it on a deeper level. You know, I know a lady who told my mom this story once. She was married to an abusive husband who would beat her a lot. She wanted out of the relationship, but she couldn't get out for some reason. She was being manipulated, and she'd prayed and prayed that something would happen and she'd get out of this relationship. Well, she finally got on her knees and she said, okay, God, that's it. I demand that you take this man out of my life right now. You take me out. You get me out of this relationship now. And something happened where he never came back into her life. I don't know if this is the most important part of the story, huh? And I forgot it. I got to ask my mom again. Like he didn't show up again. Like he took off and never came back. Nobody knows. She's never heard or seen from him. That's how I think I remember the story. But she demanded it and it happened. And you have to be ready to demand and command your own health too. If you are struggling with an addiction, you feel free to demand in a loving way, of course, but in a straightforward way that you overcome any addiction to any food or substance you might have that's holding you back. Maybe it's worrisome thoughts. I'd love to hear, if you do that, what your experience is. I would love to hear it. Okay. Recognize that life is a cruel taskmaster, and either you master it or it masters you. That means you aren't exempt from hard stuff in life and trials that are going to come. You need to learn to master that. Remember that your dominant thoughts attract what you want. Be careful what your thoughts dwell upon. Remember the fear, I'm going to gain the weight back. I'm wasting my money on this. I don't even know if it's working. I'm in a plateau. We have these thoughts and we start to attract the things that we're thinking. Don't do that. Please don't do that. Be definite in everything you do and never leave unfinished thoughts in the mind. Be definite in everything you do and never leave unfinished thoughts in the mind. Then he talks about the law of hypnotic rhythm. The devil teaches Napoleon what the law of hypnotic rhythm is, which is basically, and they didn't know it back in 1938, it's just the law of attraction. If your mind fears poverty, your mind will attract poverty. If your mind demands and expects success, you will get it. It's the law of nature. Go watch the movie The Secret. Now, I haven't seen it myself, and I'm kind of embarrassed to say that because I teach this stuff. I should have seen that movie. I'm going to go watch it probably this weekend so I can at least figure out what that's about. I think I know what it's about. It's the law of attraction. There's a scripture in the Bible that says, whatsoever a man soweth, that he will also reap. He's talking about the law of attraction here. Know what you want, adapt to the laws, and you will have it. Isn't that cool? So you see the vision, you have it in your mind, know what you want, be definite, don't change your mind, don't be confused. Adapt to the laws, which means adapt to the frequency of getting that thing. And the frequency is always this, it's always love. I need to get into the emotion of love. It can't be victimhood or that victim mentality or that woe is me and I can never, and that defeated. We can't have that feeling in us. We have to have the feeling of love, acceptance, compassion, and abundance. Those are the frequencies that bring in what you want always. And when you do that, you will have it. Okay. I'm wondering if I should save. Yes. Okay. I'm going to save those last 2 or 3 slides for the next time because we're going to have a part 2 that's coming up. We're going to get into education and religion a little bit. And of course, nutrition and health. So this was part 1 of Outwitting the Devil. What did you think? Did you love it? Did you learn something new? Did something stick with you? Did you go, aha, I'm sabotaging myself this way? I sure did, especially when I went back to make the slides where I had bookmarked the pages I was listening to in this audiobook. went back and listened to it again, typed it out, and I thought, yes, I need to always be reminded of these things so that the devil can't get into my brain and bring me down, which he tries to do often, my friends. This isn't just you. Okay, let's go ahead and stop share this right now. I'm in my garage. As you can see, this is kind of a new little office recording space for me for now. Because my family at nighttime, they're inside the house and I don't have to hear them right here. So this is great. Got my little Tito dog down here resting. I'm about to take him for a walk tonight, but we're going to try to meet back again probably the week after Christmas. Next week is Christmas. There won't be a whole lot of time to do part 2 that week. And so the week after we'll meet up, we'll do part 2. Thank you for watching the replay. I know many of you didn't get to this book yet, so I hope that this was helpful, but I still want you to go and read the book for yourself. You're going to have a lot more insight even than what you are learning from the book club and the book review. All right, that was just a quick 35 minutes is all we took tonight. That's all the time I want to take. Usually it's about 45 minutes, but I'm glad it was about 35. That's perfect. You guys can go and get to bed so you can balance those hormones. Make sure you're sleeping 8 to 10 hours every night, in bed by 9 p.m. Sleeping through the night, those hours between 9 p.m. and 3 a.m. are crucial for balancing your hormones. All right, you guys have a beautiful rest of your night and day whenever you're listening to this. And I'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye.